Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my over-the-board chess tournament series. This is my first tournament of 2026, and in this video, I will cover rounds 3 and 4. It's only a 5-round tournament, and the first 2 rounds I won, so I have 2 out of 2. I am in contention to win the tournament, provided that I keep winning games and playing well. Yeah, without further ado, in round 3, I was paired against, if you watch the second round recap, you can just look back in the playlist. I have added all the videos. At the end of the second round recap, I mentioned that there was somebody coughing for like what felt like an hour at the end of my second round game. Well, in this round, I was actually paired against this young man. He also had 2 points. He won against 2 other players in the first 2 rounds. And I saw that I was playing against them. I was like, oh, I'm playing a 12-year-old kid, and he's rated like 2,000, but he just won 2 games, and obviously these kids are very unpredictable. Some of you asked in a previous recap, like, why am I only playing children, and why are they all rated like 2,000? This is what happens when you play open tournaments. You play whoever has the same amount of points as you in a certain pairing system. Sometimes you play up, sometimes you play down. In New York, tri-state area, there's a lot of good juniors who win games and have the same amount of points as you. Yeah, without further ado, let's get into this game, and then I will show you game number 4 as well. So all I saw in my opponent's database is that he plays d4, and he actually plays the London. So, I mean, that was in 2024, which I suppose is more than a year ago, which is kind of funny. You know, I was like, oh, like a year ago, he's playing the London. And I went knight f6. It doesn't really matter if he plays the London or plays something else. In his life, 1+ years is a huge percentage of time to change his openings, I suppose. So he went c4. He had not coughed. Now, to be honest, coughing is an interesting thing because coughing can be sickness, and it can also be a nervous tic. And this is one of the things about mixing adult and kid tournaments. Is that generally kids up to a certain level, like 1800, 1900, 2000, only play other kids. They play in scholastic tournaments, they play in local schools, they play at their national and international championships, and they're generally only playing against other kids. And all of these kids are just in the same room, battling it out in their weird, quirky ways, like slamming the clock, sitting up on the table, eating at the board, coughing, spitting, peeing, pooping all over each other, you know? But it's different when it's like all mixed together. And so you just don't know. I think in the previous game he was nervous. I don't think he was sick. Obviously, when it's move 1, you know, that kind of goes away. Yeah, I mean, like I said, if I went into great detail about every annoying thing that like everybody I ever played did, these recaps would turn toxic real quick. For now, they're just toxic in regards to how I feel about myself. Yeah, chess tournaments are kind of a minefield. Knight c3. I played e6. If he went knight f3, I probably would have went d5 anyway, but he went knight c3, and I was like, I don't really want to play the Nimso Indian. I have absolutely no idea what he plays. What if he, I don't know, plays something that I don't remember, and Nimso is kind of sharp. Let's just play Queen's Gambit, and he went knight f3. And here I spent 5 minutes. The reason is there are no less than like 7 moves black can play here. The classical, the Rogozin, dc4, h6, a6, c6, c5, knight bd7. So, I mean, there's even a line of knight e4 now, I think. But anyway, I just went a6, the a6 QGD. I actually have a course on this. I don't play things to promote my courses, but it certainly doesn't hurt to get a position from... And in my opinion, my Queen's Gambit Decline course is one of my best. It's one of the most efficient courses, and it works up until master level. You're about to see it in action. He took on d5, e takes d5. The idea of this move was, of course, to take the pawn and play b5. Now white takes and basically tries to argue like your pawn on a6 is pretty stupid. I spent a little bit more time here because I was trying to remember the exact details of the course. And here the most common move by far for black is to play bishop to e6, bishop to e7, knight b d7, and castle. However, in my course, I recommend the move c6. It's a sideline. It's not the most common move. And the idea is that when white plays the move e3, very natural move, you play bishop f5. And the point is that bishop f5 intends to meet this bishop with a trade. The thing is, as you can see, black is going to have problems with this bishop. It either has to be passive, it has to go here and get traded, or it has to go here and get kicked. So if I can trade my bishop, I'm going to have absolutely no problems. And now it's actually inaccurate for white to play the very natural move, bishop to d3. There is a sharp line. There are some sharp lines here for white, but if you don't know them, I really doubt you're going to remember them. You're going to figure them out, rather, and he didn't. He played the very natural bishop d3, but after this quick trade, already black is equalized. Just simply off of trading the bishops, which is why I really like this setup with black, because it tricks people into playing like this. Now, the one drawback that I was worried about is that after I finish up my development with moves like bishop e7, castles, and knight bd7, that now, instead of playing a slow, grinding positional game, which is what you're supposed to do in the Queen's Gambit, my opponent is going to just immediately blast open the center, which would result in the trade of a piece, at least one, and then maybe even two. And leaving us in a position where black might be slightly better, but like really has to, you know, play very, very accurately to try to navigate. But I was like, okay, whatever. He's low-rated player, so he might, you know, he might play like this. Which is why even in the beginning of the game, I was like, should I play something more like a modern, just something that gives him less opportunities to trade the pieces? Lo and behold, yeah, he went e4. I traded, and now I didn't take. I just castled. What's crazy is black is already better. Black is better because this is a bad pawn structure for white. He just left himself with an isolated pawn. But I was like, okay, things are going in the right direction. And then he took on f6 with the bishop, which is also inaccurate. And then we got this position. And I was like, well, I'm just slightly better with black after 15 moves. That's cool. I'm not really sure what more you can ask for. And he went queen b3. And so now, you know, we have this position where my bishop is obviously better than his knight. I have pressure on this pawn. He wants to take this. I basically need to safeguard these pawns and slowly push them forward. At some point, he will go d5. If we trade, then I probably lose almost all of my winning chances, practically speaking. But I can still exploit this diagonal a little bit. Probably what I would have to do is I would have to let his pawn through. Like, I would need to play d5, c5, play b5, advance on the queen side. This pawn will get here or here. I would need to corral it, and then I would need to try to grind him down in that position. So I played queen c7. I thought this was a normal move. And I was expecting rook c1 with the intention to play d5. And then I was going to play rook d8, rook c8. I was going to advance these pawns, and, you know, it's a little bit of a miserable grind, but we'll get there in the end. He went d5 straight away, which I saw. The idea was that if I take this, and then I take on b2, he plays rook b1, and then he takes on b7, and, you know, that's probably just a draw. Maybe here, and I thought about this, actually. I thought about going for this pure symmetry and playing rook fd8, and something like queen b3, and like rook c8. And I saw this, and I was like, this is pretty unpleasant for white. He doesn't have many easy moves, but I need time. Like, I need time to play, for example, b5, and maybe queen c4 or queen c2, and still the position's equal, but, and then I was like, okay, look, I'm not gonna do that, let's just do this, right? Let's play this position, put the rook on d8, play b5, c4, etc. He went rook fd1, and so now I was thinking, like, all right, b5, he's gonna push. I can also stop him. I can play rook fd8 now, and then rook c1. I just didn't like that I'm not gonna be in time to play c4. I would need to play b5, but yeah, something like rook d8, rook c8, you know, b5, take my time. I didn't know, I couldn't quite understand the difference between all of these moves. Like, I thought about c4 straight away, but then I figured he would go queen b4 and then maybe b5, but, okay, I thought b5 and then c4, but there is a difference, actually. There's a huge difference, which I completely blanked on. I was a bit tired. The matcha from my 4:30 p.m. meal had not quite kicked in. And I lazily just played this move b5. I just thought, like, b5, c4, move my queen here or here. Life is good. Unfortunately, b5 just completely loses all of my advantage in one move, which I only realized after I had played it. Because my purpose after d6 was originally going to be to play queen c6. And I was like, queen c6, and he cannot play queen d5 because I take and I'm, you know. And then I was like, wait, what am I talking? Of course he can play queen d5. He can play queen d5. And I cannot take this pawn because he plays rook b1. And if I try to defend like this, he just goes rook b3. Like, he can play the move that I just completely thought he couldn't play. I mean, I have no idea how you blunder such a thing, but yeah, just pathetic. Like, of course I should have, you know, like, he's trying to trade the pieces the whole game, right? So maybe this move should come more naturally. Like, and then at least you can play b5. At least this version, you know? And then you bring your rooks. The problem with the way that I did it is even if I go queen b6 and avoid the trade, actually, if anybody's better now, it's white. Because c4 I can't even play because he can just take like this. So when I saw this, I was like, oh my god. I'm not going to win this game. Not only do I not have my most important piece, if anything, like he's playing for advantage because his pawn is so advanced. And so he went knight e5. I have to trade and my winning chances are 0. I do think of things like, would Magnus beat him in this position? And the answer is probably, but like even some of these positions, I'm not so sure. Yeah, he just brought his king. I brought mine. There's nothing here. I mean, I ultimately, I have to like sack a pawn. He gets this one. I get the other ones. He offered me a draw here. There is one way he could screw this up, which I thought was going to e4. And then like maybe I can come back here. But he can also just go to f2. And it's just a rook and 3, rook on 3. It just goes g5, and I will absolutely never win this position. This was extremely annoying. I mean, I wasn't even annoyed at him. I mean, if anything, I coughed more than he did this game. Which is also part of the thing. Like, recovering from flu and not sleeping particularly well is not great for your energy levels. Yeah, like, this sucks, man. I mean, like, chess ultimately just comes down to, like, one wrong pawn push. And for this game, I think I lose, like, 4 rating points drawing a 2000. Which sucks. I mean, this is, like, idiotic, you know? Like, I get a great position from the opening, and I just don't play it accurately. I could have went c4, rook d8, I don't know, rook c1, b5, and black is just doing great here. And I just played b5 first, and I mean, this is just infuriating. Now, 2.5, though, you know? We have to, at least we didn't lose. And in the next round, I'm playing Casa Corley. Casa has been on this channel multiple times. I played him in multiple tournaments over the years. I think recently we've drawn. When I was younger, he definitely beat me. I remember once, but maybe even more than that. Yeah, I respect Casa. He's a very experienced player. He's been up to like 2470. I think he has 1 or 2 GM norms. I think he has 2, but I don't remember. Yeah, part of the problem actually of this matchup for me is psychological. And I actually feel like this is something that affects me in general playing in New York, because I have played so many of these people over the last like 10, 15 years of playing chess that I have some weird innate respect. And that can be offset with like, you know, having a really, really strong opening repertoire where like you're posing problems all the time, which in my peak of playing, I did have. Nowadays, not so much, and that's part of the problem. So I actually got paired against Casa, which is interesting because he has 3 out of 3, and I have 2.5, and I floated up to him because the colors matched. I was due white and he was due black. And my approach to this game was like, okay, get good sleep, and then show up and play something. The sleep didn't happen. I woke up at 5:30, and I woke up like really energized, but you could tell it was a bit of an anxious energy. Like I'm playing up. I don't want to make a fool out of myself. Like let's play a good game. And I opened up with b3. I actually predicted that he would play this setup, the reverse London. In general, he's a very positional player, very practical player. He's not going to go into some crazy lines where he has to memorize all sorts of stuff. And that's exactly what he did. And now I uncorked my secret weapon, knight to h4. This is some sort of like modern idea in different London positions. Black has not played, this is a reverse London, but the point stands. Black has not played the move h6, so black can't play bishop h7. So black actually has to move the bishop. Now, people are putting the bishop on d7. They don't want to return it to the home square. First of all, because they might not want to make a draw. And second of all, because on the home square, it then has to redevelop in the future. And on d7, at least, it's kind of developed. At least you can put a rook on c8. But he went back to c8. And I did think here, I was like, should I go back to f3? Like, I don't think he's going to make a draw with me in 5 moves. I think he will just choose something else, which would be quite funny. And it didn't really matter because a few moves later, I did go knight f3 back. I went e3 here, though, and he went c5. And here I had this thought. I was like, should I play f4? Like, I want to return my knight to f3, but I also kind of want to play f4. Ultimately, I didn't go for f4 because I thought like he could immediately occupy the center with d4. I thought maybe f4. Also, there's some g6 positions that are decent. I just returned back to f3, and I was ready for the next phase of the game. The bishop can go to b5, and he went a6. And now I started thinking. So there is a variation where you can play this move c4. And I think here that's the most accurate move. Also, I can play just bishop e2. And then I can castle, and then I can commit the pawns a little bit later. I was sitting, and I was kind of on my own at this point. And I ultimately went for d4. But as I sat at the board, I realized, and I was already annoyed at myself, that I technically made an inaccuracy on the 7th move as white. And this was really frustrating to me. Because I was like, how bad at chess am I? Really? Like, there's nothing really wrong with the move d4, but the original intention of playing this was to take with a knight. But I can't do this. My idea was e5, I come back with my knight, and I attack the pawn on e5. And I realized that he has this very annoying move, bishop b4 check, which is actually very hard for me to meet. I have to block with the pawn, and I have to block my bishop. If I play knight bd2, he plays knight e4. And I could not believe my eyes. I was like, is this really happening? Like, I can't... And he's going to get to c3. So, for instance, if I play a3, he plays bishop c3, and now my queen has to go to c1, which is horrendous, and black is actually better here. Like, I was looking at this from a distance going, can he really do that? And the answer is yes. He can actually go for this. Here's what I did wrong. The knight has to be on c6. And I only realized this after I had already committed to the move d4. The knight has to be on c6 because then there's no e5. Because then I take the knight on c6. I'm just sitting there like, what am I, like... Why am I showing up to tournaments and playing openings inaccurately on the 7th move? Now, Casa went bishop g4. He didn't even entertain any of this. They went bishop g4, and I was like, okay, well, bishop g4 is a little bit of a... I get it. He's trying to go e6, and he just doesn't want to block in his bishop, right? So I'm like, okay, obviously the natural move is bishop e2, and then castle, but I can also just play h3 and, you know, make him give me the bishop now, because if he plays bishop h5... I very quickly play g4, and then I play like knight e5, and I can even play like something like this. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, he could just take my knight and give me the bishop pair. But now would be the moment to take on c5. Like, if anything, you take on c5 now, and it's not easy for black to regain the pawn. If black plays queen a5 check, you play knight d2, and then you play like a3, b4, c4, and you just get a very comfortable position. Black just under some pressure. So if you took on c5, black should play e6, and, you know, b4, for example, b6, and you try to win the pawn back like this, but I think white is generally always, like, pretty comfortable here. If anything, if you don't want to take on c5, like, yeah, bishop e2 or knight d2 or something, but at least you try to open up the diagonal for this bishop on b2. Instead, I went h3, he took, and then he took, and then he went like this. And I was sitting there. I was like, okay, the position's probably equal, but my position does feel a little clumsy. Because if I develop my bishop to d3, I figured he can always go knight b4. And I kind of wanted to preserve my bishop pair, because I just tried to get the bishop pair, so why would I give the bishop pair away? Which makes you think, like, maybe you should play the move a3. But a3 feels a little bit slow. And I figured, if anything, he can come attack my pawn, and I really didn't want to play queen d1 back. I just felt wrong. And so I was like, if I play a3, I can't go c3. If I play c3, I block my bishop, so that just looks bad. So I was like, okay, instead of committing my pawns or my bishop, I'm going to put my knight on d2, because that's where it has to go anyway. And then he went g6. Like, okay, g6 makes sense. He's developing his bishop to g7, and then he's going to castle. And here I had this thought. I was like, can I go long? Can I go long castle? He would develop his bishop. I would play something like king b1. He would go like this. But I didn't believe that my attack was faster than his attack. Like, of course I saw g4, but I mean, like, he goes b5, and then I can play h4, and then I don't know, I thought he could play, like, any move, like queen c7, and, okay, I play h5, but I still don't have an attack. I did not think that I was attacking here. If I play rook c8, like, and I take and I try to mate him, he immediately counters me. If I play the move h6, then I have no idea why I attacked this kingside to begin with, because my kingside stays closed. If I play the move like this to play hg, his attack comes in much faster than mine. So I did think about long castle and king b1, but I didn't see how to develop a logical attack onto his king, and I thought, if anything, I'm putting my king in some danger. Computer thinks long castle is equal, but I don't know. I wasn't so convinced. But the move I played was also not particularly great. Again, I was thinking to play bishop d3, but I did not want to allow knight b4. So again, I could have went a3, but I didn't like a3 because you can always play queen b6. So we have this never-ending conundrum of like, well, I want to play bishop d3, but I kind of don't want to give away the bishop pair. But bishop d3 is what I should play, because what I played in the game, which was a little bit less accurate, bishop e2, not very comfortable, as we're about to find out. And he went bishop h6. He prevented me from castling, and he threatened to take my knight and ruin my right to castle. But I actually kind of caught him here. Like, he accidentally played something that was not a real threat. Like, to take my knight and to bring my king into the center is actually not very good. Because after knight e4 check, I just go king c1, and black doesn't have any follow-up. If he goes queen a5 looking for something to get to d2, I just go queen e3, and there's nothing here for black. And it felt like I'm just going to start, you know, bishop d6, a comeback, kick out all his pieces, bring my king to safety. But it's an interesting position for sure. But I was sort of baiting him into taking on d2. And Casa here spent 22 minutes, which in my lifetime of playing Casa Corley, I don't think I have ever made him spend that long on a move. So immediately I'm like, I'm feeling confident because I go from down 10 minutes to up 10 minutes. But he just castled. He did not take on d2. And here I was like, okay, well, I really need to castle, so I need to put my queen on d3, which is what I did. And again, Casa spent a really, really long time. I just thought the game was going to proceed with queen c7, trying to go e5, or rook e8. I would play knight f3. He would play, I have no idea, rook c8, and then I would castle. And we would have this position. And this position is probably equal, because he does not really get e5, and he doesn't really have a way to break through my position, and I'm going to go c4, and life is good. So Kaza's sitting here for a while thinking, I'm like, I'm going to go knight f3, I'm going to castle, I'm going to play rook e1, rook d1, like, I don't love my position, but it's not bad. And then he plays queen a5. And that's a really good move. That is a really good move. It is the top move of the computer, and it's also just a really, really smart move. And yeah, I think this move showed a clear level difference between the two of us, because when he played this move, I was like, okay, he's down 20 minutes on the clock, and he's playing, like, what is queen a5? Well, here's the point of queen a5. He's not letting me castle. And he's also threatening knight e4, right? Applying even more pressure to my knight. I have to deal with this move. Both ways of dealing with this move, which are b4 and bishop c3, suck. Because b4 weakens my control over c4, and when I play c4, I would really love to take with a pawn. I don't want to take with a knight and weaken my d-pawn. I would like my pawns to go together. So b4, and he's just going to bring his queen back, weakens my position. Bishop c3, which stubbornly doesn't push the pawn, leads me to a position with knight f3, rook c8. If I castle, he just plays knight a7, and now I'm suddenly losing a pawn. So I cannot allow that. I have to spend an entire tempo going back to b2, at which point he's just gotten an improved version where he gained a move. He gained a move. Like, it's as if in the original position, he had played queen c7, and then I went knight f3, and he went rook c8, and then he got an extra move. It was his move again, which is BS. Like, right? I would have obviously castled. So when he went queen a5, I was like, okay, I probably have to go b4. I don't know. I don't know what's the best move. Computer wants g3 and f4, which is also a possibility. g3, f4 is sophisticated. I mean, weakening my king, but trying to block out his bishop. I went for this, and then I went knight b3. I also could have castled. I didn't know if I should move my knight now. I didn't know if I should go here or here. I was like, let me justify his, you know, he made me go b4, but I'm going to justify it. I also thought about c4 here, but this is just a bad position. I figured he could take. I'm not ever activating these bishops, you know? Like, he's going to play rook d8, and this just didn't feel comfortable. But yeah, it's actually reasonable, you know, to play like this. It's even reasonable to play d5 and like sack a pawn. Like he goes knight e5, I play like back to a2, and there's some lines I can even give this away, but at least I have the bishops, which is instructive. Instead I went knight b3, and he went e5, and this was maybe the last moment to kind of save a little bit of how this game was going. My understanding was not up to par. Like it definitely felt like I was sort of like trying to swim, but mostly flapping at the water with my arms. I figured, okay, Casa opened up my diagonal for my bishop. Let me bring my queen back and like let me figure out, you know, how to coordinate my pieces, my rook, my knight, my bishop. And then in the long run, I think my bishops will prove their value. That's just like not happening at all. What I should do now is just trade the queen, which I saw. But I was like, this seems late. Like, why would I? But yeah, the position actually is getting quite good for black. Not just good, it's getting dangerous. And yeah, here at a minimum, like I can, you know, I can trade and I can play like bishop d3, and this position is just roughly equal. I can maybe even play knight c5. Sorry, in this position, not hanging my bishop, and try to apply some pressure to his queenside pawns. After this, though, I was expecting him to put his rook on c8, and we're getting to the phase of the game you can't tank that much time. So I was like, okay, let me just play like knight c5. Knight c5 is a horrendous move. Horrendous move. Computer doesn't agree, but knight c5 was designed to block this file and prevent b6 because I would take the pawn. But he just goes rook d8 quickly, and like he's gonna jump in with his knight, targeting the knight that I just put there, justifying the trade, improving his structure, and opening an attack against my queen. And here I just, like, I really lost my cool. There is still some chance that I can play really passive moves like rook b1 and queen c1 and, you know, just kind of like sit there and have a bad position, but he has to come to me. I thought about that, and up to this point I had done a good job managing my clock. It was pretty even. Generally, Casa is a faster player than me. And here, all of that went out the window. I got really annoyed at myself for allowing... I mean, he has a fantastic position. Like, his pieces coordinate beautifully. I got really annoyed at myself for, like, not, you know, trying to trade the queen and everything. And I went down to 6 minutes, and I went here. And now the position, you know, I see that rook c8 is coming, which, like, doesn't even... It doesn't even make sense, because he's not even threatening my pawn. I don't need to move this pawn. I need to play rook b1 and just sit still. Rook b1 and then maybe move my queen somewhere. But time was ticking. I went c4. I wanted to trade into this endgame. And I thought, similar to the previous game, actually. Remember in the previous game, my opponent had this advanced pawn and I had the two rooks? Well, in this game, he has the advanced pawn, and I was like, oh, I'm going to defend a similar endgame. But, yeah, it's not holdable. He goes rook e2, I went queen f6, and I actually thought I was maybe making some progress here, but this is just a losing endgame. And I completely, on top of this, I completely hallucinated here. In this position, I thought, I literally played queen d6, and I thought it was a draw. Because I was thinking, he doesn't have enough time to win my pawn, and I'm going to play rook a2, surround this, and get my king to f3, attacking his rook. And then he has to leave, and I take on d2. Only to realize at this very moment that I'm losing. Not previously, but at this very moment, rook d8, king g3, I don't have enough time. I lose. Because if I play rook a2, it looks like it's fine. Everything's fine. It's not fine. He has rook d3 check. And I don't get to the rook. And if I play king f3, which looks logical, he just goes back. And if I play rook a2 and he defends himself, well, then it's a draw. Because king e3, or king e2 is more accurate. King e2 is more accurate. And I get to the pawn. Well, that doesn't work. Because if I went king f3, and he went back, and I play rook a2, he again plays rook d3. And I never get my king to the e2 square. And that's what I missed. My king is forced forward, at which point I lose. Because not only does he defend the pawn, he wins all my pawns, and my king is beyond the structure. When I went queen d6, I was like, oh, I tricked him, it's a draw. And then I did not realize that he has this rook d3 idea. It only set in that I'm losing the game now. And I am, yeah. I resigned because he's just going to walk in with his king. I just can't get to the pawn. The thing is, even if I didn't go queen d6, if I went like king g3, this is just losing also because I'm just very passive here. Like I thought about maybe queen f3, I can hold it. We discussed after the game if this position is holdable, and it's -6, which is really incredible how bad this is. Like rook e8, e3, and then he can sack the rook for a checkmate. I mean, yeah, brutal, 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 brutal. It all went wrong right here. Queen d1, knight c5, totally spun out of control, lost my cool. And he played well, man. I mean, I gotta say, this move, queen a5, really shows the difference in our positional understanding. Like, queen a5, I very vaguely considered, but I did not truly appreciate how strong it was. And then if you just go back to a couple of other decisions in this game, like not going bishop d3 and trying to quickly castle because he can play knight b4, I don't know. I was he played very well and he won the tournament. He won after this. But I was like, I felt like I played this game like a person with a chess understanding of 2000. No disrespect to anybody watching this who is 2000. I was very disappointed in myself. The bigger picture is I need more work on my opening repertoire, which I will get to. But this was very dejecting. I was like, what the, like. On top of not sleeping particularly great and recovering from sickness, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I just felt like such an idiot playing this game. The whole game, literally, from like move 5. when I sat at the board going, d4 is not an accurate move. Like, what are you doing? So, yeah, tough stuff. And yeah, I mean, Kos played very well. Queen a5 was a very nice move. And yeah, very controlled game. Now, I have to bounce back and not be a little baby because in about 10 days, I'm playing a match in Madrid against Julian Song, my fellow 30-year-old international master, rated 2300. That should be fun. And you can tune in, more details to come. I lost 5 rating points in this tournament, so since returning to classical chess, I have probably played about 30 hours, and I've lost 5 rating points. This is like a terrible activity, I gotta tell you. Like, chess is fun when you're winning and learning new things, but otherwise, I mean, goodness me, this is a slog. I think I've said that. But anyway, we keep going. You know the drill already. Get out of here.